The screens in the central command room of Sarath showed the same terrible numbers they had displayed for weeks. 3 million dead, 15 million infected. The plague they called the Crimson Rot was killing the Calvari people faster than anyone could count. Ambassador Valen stared at the displays with tired eyes. He had not slept properly in days. None of them had. "We have tried everything," said Priya, the young scientist standing beside him. Her blue skin had lost its usual brightness. Dark circles marked her eyes. "Our best doctors cannot stop it. Our medicine does nothing. We are running out of time." Valen nodded slowly. The Calvari Republic had always been a peaceful group of worlds. 7 different species living together, sharing knowledge, building a quiet life among the stars. They had good schools, clean cities, and kind people. But they had never needed to build a strong military. They had never faced a real threat before. Now a disease was destroying them, and they had no way to fight back. "What about the transmission?" Velen asked. "Did anyone respond?" Priya checked her datapad. "Nothing yet. We sent the message to 40 different sectors. We asked for help from anyone who might have better medical technology than us." Velen felt his heart sink. Both of them beat slowly in his chest, heavy with worry.
"Keep trying."
Someone must hear us. Someone must care. The message had been simple. The Calvari needed doctors. They needed medicine. They needed someone who understood diseases better than they did. In return, they offered friendship, trade, and anything else they could give. It was a desperate call, sent into the darkness of space, hoping that someone kind would answer. 3 days later, the answer came. Lieutenant Amy Chen sat at her station aboard the UNS Horizon, a human colony ship that had been exploring the outer regions for 2 years. The communication system beeped and she put on her headset. At first she thought it was just noise. Then the computer started translating. "This is Ambassador Valen of the Calvari Republic. We are dying. A plague has taken our worlds. Millions are sick. We need medical help. We have heard stories of humans. We hope you can help us, please. We are begging." Amy's hands moved quickly over her controls. She saved the message and played it again. Then she called for Commander Jake Morrison. Jake arrived within minutes. He was a tall man with short brown hair and a serious face. He had been in space for most of his adult life, and he knew how to make hard choices. He listened to the message 3 times. "How far away are they?" he asked. "About 6 days at full speed," Amy replied. "The message is old. It took 4 days to reach us. They might have gotten worse by now." Jake thought for a moment. "Send this up the chain. Admiral Hayes needs to hear it. And start plotting a course. We might be going there soon." The message reached Admiral Richard Hayes on the flagship UNS Valiant within an hour. Hayes was an older man, gray-haired and strong-shouldered. He had fought in the border wars 20 years ago. He had seen humanity at its worst and had helped rebuild it into something better. He read the translation of the Calvari message and made his decision quickly. "Prepare a medical task force," he ordered his staff. 6 hospital ships. Full crews. Everything we have for plague response. And I want a battle group to escort them. 3 cruisers, 4 destroyers, and 2 carriers. His second officer looked surprised.
"Sir, they asked for medical help."
"Why are we sending warships?" Hayes looked at him with steady eyes. "Because we learned something important during the wars. When you send doctors into unknown space, you also send guns to protect them. We will help these people, but we will make damn sure our people come home safe." The human fleet prepared quickly. The hospital ships were large and white, with red crosses painted on their sides. Inside they had beds for thousands of patients, laboratories, surgery rooms, and storage for massive amounts of medicine. Dr. Helen Grant led the medical teams. She was a short woman with red hair and quick hands. She had worked in war zones and disaster areas for 15 years. She knew how to save lives under pressure. Colonel Paul Davidson commanded the Marine Security Forces. He was a big man with dark skin and a calm voice. His job was to protect the medical staff and make sure they could work safely. He had 800 Marines under his command, all of them trained to fight but ordered to help. On Sarath, the Calvari government received the response from the humans. Help was coming. They would arrive in 5 days. Velen felt hope for the first time in weeks. He immediately ordered his people to prepare the spaceports. They cleared landing zones. They emptied hospital wings. They got ready to receive the human doctors and their supplies. "How many ships are they sending?" asked the defense minister, an old Calvari named Torin. The message says a medical task force, Valen replied. Probably 2 or 3 hospital ships. Maybe some support vessels, Priya smiled. It was the first time she had smiled in a month. We will finally have a chance. The humans are supposed to be very good at medicine. Maybe they can teach us how to cure this. 5 days later, the Calvari sensors detected the human fleet dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of their system. The sensor operator stared at his screen in confusion. He counted the ships twice. Then he called his supervisor. The supervisor counted them again. Then she called Valen. Ambassador, we have a problem, she said. Her voice was shaking. Valen arrived at the sensor station within minutes. What is wrong? Did the humans not come? They came, the supervisor said. But look at this. Valen looked at the display. His blood went cold. There were 15 ships. 6 of them were hospital ships, exactly as he had hoped. But surrounding them were 9 warships. The sensors showed their weapon systems clearly. Railguns, missile batteries, fighter craft. These were not small escort ships. These were heavy military vessels built for serious combat. Why did they bring warships? Priya whispered. We asked for doctors. Torin, the defense minister, stepped forward. His face was pale. This is an invasion force. They are using our weakness to conquer us. We called for help and we invited wolves into our home. Valen felt sick. Had he made a terrible mistake? The Calvari had almost no military. Their few defense ships were old and mostly empty, because so many crew members were sick or dead. If the humans wanted to take their worlds, there was nothing to stop them. Try to contact them, Valen ordered, but carefully. Do not make them angry. The communication went back and forth for hours. The humans seemed confused about why the Calvari were being so cold. The Calvari were too afraid to ask directly why warships had come. Finally, Admiral Hayes requested a meeting. Neutral ground. A small station in orbit. Just a few people from each side. Valen agreed because he had no choice. As he prepared to take a shuttle up to the station, Priya touched his arm. What if they take us prisoner? She asked quietly. Valen looked at her with tired eyes. Then at least we tried to save our people. Sometimes that is all we can do. The shuttle lifted off, carrying Valen and 2 others toward the station where the humans waited. Behind them on Sarath, millions of sick Calvari lay in hospitals hoping for a cure. Above them, 15 human ships hung in space like a question that no one knew how to answer. The meeting would decide everything. The meeting room on the orbital station was small and plain. Valen sat on one side of the table with Priya and Torin beside him. Across from them sat 3 humans. Admiral Richard Hayes wore a dark blue uniform with silver marks on his shoulders. Dr. Helen Grant wore white medical clothes. Commander Jake Morrison sat quietly, watching everything with careful eyes. The silence lasted too long. Finally, Valen spoke. His voice was steady, but his hands shook under the table. Thank you for coming to help us, he said. But we must ask. We called for doctors and medicine. Why did you bring warships? Admiral Hayes looked surprised by the question. He glanced at Dr. Grant, then back at Valen. We brought warships to protect the medical mission. Is that a problem? Torin leaned forward. Ambassador Velen sent a call for humanitarian aid. You brought enough military power to conquer our entire system. Can you understand why we are frightened? Understanding spread across Hayes' face. He sat back in his chair and nodded slowly. I see. You think we came to invade you while you are weak. Did you not? Torin asked. Hayes shook his head. No, we came to help. But we learned something important about helping people. Let me tell you a story. The Admiral's voice became quieter, more serious. 20 years ago, humans fought each other in what we called the Border Wars. It was a terrible time. Millions died. During those wars, we sent medical ships to help wounded soldiers and sick civilians. We painted red crosses on those ships. We told everyone they were hospitals, not weapons. He paused and looked down at his hands. Our enemies did not care. They saw doctors as soft targets. They attacked hospital ships because they knew we would not defend them with weapons. They killed thousands of doctors, nurses, and patients, good people who only wanted to help others. They died because we believed mercy and strength should be kept separate. Priya felt tears in her eyes. She had not expected this story. Hayes continued. After the wars ended, we made a promise. Never again would human doctors go anywhere without protection. Never again would we let healers be easy targets. So now when we send hospital ships, we also send warships. Not to conquer. Not to threaten. But to make sure that anyone who wants to hurt our doctors will have to go through us first. Phelan felt something shift in his chest. You brought warriors to protect your healers? Yes, Hayes said simply. Where human doctors go, human soldiers follow. That is our way now. Dr. Grant spoke for the first time. Her voice was kind but firm. Ambassador, we have medicine that can cure your plague. We have doctors ready to work day and night. We have supplies for millions of people. But we will not risk our medical staff. The warships stay. If that is not acceptable, we will leave. The room fell silent again. Velen looked at Torin, then at Priya. He thought about his dying people. He thought about the empty hospitals and the mass graves. He thought about how the Calvari had always kept their military and their healers separate, believing that weapons and compassion did not belong together. Maybe the humans knew something the Calvari had never learned. The warships can stay, Phelan said quietly. Please help us, Dr. Grant smiled. It was a warm smile that reached her eyes. We will start immediately. Within hours, the human hospital ships moved into orbit around Sarath. Shuttles began landing at the cleared spaceports. Dr. Grant led teams of doctors and nurses to the surface. They wore white uniforms and carried medical bags. Behind them came Colonel Paul Davidson and his Marines. They wore combat armor and carried weapons, but their orders were clear. Protect the healers. Help the local people. Treat everyone with respect. The humans worked with amazing speed. They set up field hospitals in parks and empty buildings. They brought machines that could test blood and identify diseases in minutes. They brought synthesizers that could make medicine on the spot. Within 2 days, the first Calvari patients received the cure. It worked. The crimson rot began to fade from their bodies. Sick people started to recover. Parents watched their children wake up and smile again. The plague that had seemed unstoppable was finally being defeated. Captain Lisa Morgan commanded one of the Marine security teams. She was a tall woman with blonde hair tied back in a tight knot. She walked through the hospital zones with her soldiers, making sure everything stayed safe. The Calvari watched them nervously at first. These were armed warriors in the middle of medical facilities. It seemed wrong, but the humans did not act like conquerors. They helped carry supplies. They assisted elderly Calvari who could not walk. They played with sick children to make them smile. One Marine named Danny spent his breaks teaching Calvary kids how to fold paper into different shapes. Another Marine named Sophie helped repair a broken water system in a hospital. Priya watched all of this with wonder. She had never seen soldiers act this way. In Calvari culture, the military and civilian life were completely separate. Warriors did not help with medicine. Doctors did not work near weapons. But the humans mixed everything together and somehow it worked. Your people are very strange, Priya said to Jake Morrison one evening. They stood on a balcony overlooking one of the field hospitals. Jake smiled. Strange how? Your soldiers help with medical work. Your doctors work next to armed guards. You do not keep them separate. Jake thought about this. We used to. We thought mercy and strength were opposites. We learned we were wrong. They work better together. A doctor with no protection is vulnerable. A soldier with no purpose beyond fighting becomes lost. But put them together and you get something powerful. Priya was about to respond when alarms started blaring across the city. Her communication device buzzed urgently. She answered it and her face went pale. What is wrong? Jake asked. Ships, Priya said. Her voice shook. Unknown ships just entered our system. A lot of them. Torin says they are Torvan raiders. Jake's expression hardened. He touched his own communication device. Morrison to Valiant. We have hostile contacts entering the system. What do you see? Admiral Hayes's voice came back immediately. We see them, Commander. 15 Torvan ships. Heavy raiders. They are heading straight for Sarath. Battle stations. All ships prepare for combat. Priya grabbed Jake's arm. The Torvan are scavengers. They attack weak civilizations and steal everything they can. They take technology resources, sometimes even people as slaves. We have no defense. Our fleet is too small and too sick. Jake looked at her. You are not alone anymore. Above the planet, the human warships moved into defensive positions. The 3 cruisers formed a wall between Sarath and the approaching Torvan fleet. The 4 destroyers spread out to cover different angles. The 2 carrier ships launched their fighter craft. Dozens of small, fast ships poured out and formed attack formations. On the surface, Colonel Davidson received his orders. All Marines to defensive positions around the hospitals. No one gets through to the medical staff. No one. The Torvan fleet arrived at the edge of the system confident and eager. Their sensors showed the Calvari defenses were almost nothing. This would be an easy raid. Then their sensors picked up the human ships. The Torvan commander sent a message. Unknown vessels leave this system. The Calvari are our prey. This is not your concern. Admiral Hayes responded with a voice like cold steel. This is Admiral Richard Hayes of the Human Defense Fleet. You are approaching a world under human protection. This is a humanitarian zone. Any attack on this planet or its people will be considered an attack on humanity. Leave now, the Torvan commander laughed. These humans were protecting aliens they barely knew. It made no sense. He gave the order to attack. It was the last order he would ever give. The human warships opened fire. Railguns launched metal slugs at incredible speeds. Missiles streaked through space with perfect accuracy. The fighter craft swarmed the Torvan ships like angry insects. The Torvan had expected an easy fight. Instead, they met the full force of human military power used to protect the innocent. The battle lasted 30 minutes. Not a single Torvan ship survived to escape. Not one Torvan weapon reached the planet. The human defensive line held absolutely. On Sarath, the Calvari watched their screens in shock. The warships that had frightened them a week ago had just saved their entire civilization. Valen stood in the command center with tears running down his face. Priya held his hand. Torin, the old defense minister, could not speak. When it was over, Admiral Hayes contacted the surface. Ambassador Valen, the threat is eliminated. Your world is safe. The medical mission will continue. Valen found his voice. Admiral, why did you fight for us? You barely know us, Hayes' answer was simple. Because you needed help. Because we could provide it. Because this is who we choose to be. Dr. Grant's voice came over the channel next. And because our job is to heal people, not watch them die. The warships made sure we could do our job. Do you understand now? Valen understood. Humans did not see strength and compassion as opposites. They saw them as partners. The same civilization that built powerful warships also built hospitals. The same people who could fight with terrible efficiency could also heal with gentle hands. They were not warriors instead of healers. They were both completely at the same time. Yes, Valen said quietly. We understand now. Thank you. 2 months later, the crimson rot was completely cured. The last patient recovered and went home.